Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. We're going to bring in here a gentleman that's going to give us a lot to think about. He's our professional of the year, and he's also the gentleman behind a great firm, JRN Design Associates. It's a design build firm. His name is Jeff Rice. He's really inspired to be that designer builder in Michigan and motivating the construction industry to really seek greater value budget control in the development of custom home plans and construction. And he's also written an AIA-approved continuing education course. You can find it online and also at the Licensing Institute of Michigan, or you can also find it on his website, jrnhomedesign.com. It's for architects, Michigan builders, and it illustrates a lot of the areas that are critical, and it's ways for eliminating waste, but also seeking truth in the development of plans for construction. What's really interesting is the connection he's found in seeking truth in general for all things and abundance that comes from it. He's also produced a book titled The Love of the Father, illustrating the meaning and foundation of happiness, and 5 tangible truths to help encourage somebody in the building of personal faith and happiness, as well as abundance and life. You can find that book at Amazon KDP, where you can read it for free or check out the website, theloveofthefather.com. Jeff is back with us again today. He's got more to share. Welcome back, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Steve. And thanks again to you and to all the listeners and to the Professional Business Network for having me on the show again today. It is a real privilege and a blessing, and I hope that this show will give a little insight, uplift everyone, and inspire. My hope is to inform with simple observations of divinely written, tangible truths for understanding that can further inspire one in faith, giving strength, no matter your condition, enthusiasm for motivation, for adherence to the truth, which is very important for pretty much everything and anything good. Considering deception and error never awarded anyone with anything but pain and suffering, in a perfect world, we understand the need for exactness or truth for needed success. And I look forward to illustrating by design that we do live in a perfect world in spite of popular thoughts that have hidden this truth. In the building industry, there is the desperate need for being exact or true, such as needed details and design for egress windows, engineering, construction details. I mean, imagine a $75,000 truss package coming out and it's too short, or stairways that, don't fit for proper headroom, or a $50,000 window package that shows up and the roof openings are too small. It's serious issues. So exactness in truth and success in life applies everywhere, especially with our own personal design and the building of ourselves in the name of the truth for life. We essentially need to enter through the narrow door.
I have to share with you, earlier today, somebody asked me what my values are, and we challenged each other, and it was to write down 3 to 5 of what your values are. One of the top ones for me was truth. Facts don't lie. It's just the way it is. Facts are a fact. People can bend that a little bit depending on how you look at it. So we looked at the 5 tangible truths that exist, or truthful words that you have written about on your website and book for harmonious purpose for the existence of life. How about a quick recap? What are the 5 tangible truths, and how do we understand them for today?
Well, I'm sure there's other tangible truths, but these 5 tangible, divinely written truths and words illustrate an undeniable connection between the physical application to earthly truthful written laws and spiritual truthful written laws, and how in both cases they provide a way for harmonious purpose for life and abundance, but only with adherence and faithfulness to the truthful word or law written. And it starts with illustrating how God's perfectly truthful words for life and all of creation is absolutely flawless. And you may say, well, where is this? First, an example of tangible divinely written truth or law is a law that is created or influenced by the Lord himself, that is perfectly undeniable or offers constructive and beneficial results when followed. The laws of creation are found written within the perfectly designed DNA of every single cell found in life, both inside and out of all living things. And it is only with adherence to the perfect truth and laws given for direction, written within the DNA, for all life created, are we able to see and celebrate the absolute wonder and awe of creation, directed by an orchestra of a perfectly truthful world of law at a cellular level that we live in and are made up of, that brings forth life abundantly. Understanding the purposefulness and the need for exactness found within the design and the infinite uniqueness of all life on our planet, consisting of very specific, truthfully written laws within the DNA and the command within each living cell for adherence to the truthful way given to it for its unique purpose in life, we now know that life is not just randomness or a disordered clump of cells mutating out or growing out of control, rising to perfect order with no perfect laws to follow, but rather an astonishing infinite number of purposefully organized truthful laws by design, created for the way to follow for life, abundance, and harmony. And apart from that truthfully written law given, there is really nothing. This extraordinary yet very elementary truthful understanding of creation and the need for adherence to the truthfully written word and law within the DNA for its existence in life and abundance, and of course, apart from noxious, toxic, deceptive influences that unfortunately wars and surrounds all of us, is to not be affected by the deceptive rule or way for loss to physical life. And it has not just shown us that we do, in fact, live in a perfect created world by the order of truthfully written laws designed into all living things, but additionally and tangibly, this connects the beauty of all living things in creation down to each living cell's faithfulness to the law given in the exact same application to the importance of truth and the rule of law for life and abundance seen with divinely written, truthful spiritual laws and words that also invite all to adherence, just as Moses said regarding the Ten Commandments. There is no freedom or life apart from the law, meaning much, but namely deception is a killer. And as Jesus Christ said, I am the truth, the way, and the life, and all who adhere to it hear my voice, and there will be an abundance. So to not be afflicted by deception, or afflicted by deception for loss, and to have a harmonious purpose for our existence in life with one another and the Lord who created everything and every living cell and law for it perfectly.
Yeah, Jeff, I got to admit, I don't think many of us have considered that connection and idea that we live in any kind of a perfect world of law, but there is a tangible understanding and relationship here between the truth and laws for all earthly life and the need for adherence to the DNA's instructions for life, for abundance and harmony that illustrate a similar relationship for humanity adhering to loving, truthful laws and commandments that are provided by life, just as you expressed. It's kind of crazy how there's a genuine connection to these truthful laws for life and the laws for creation. And I might also add that it's my belief that this stuff doesn't happen just by coincidence. There's a reason that things happen in life. The way of creation, the cells are created. It wasn't just magic. There it is. There's a plan. And I guess the plan is the follow the truth. That's what it sounds like.
Well, it's a written law. That DNA is a blueprint. It's a law. And I think, Steve, I'm thinking of Thomas Jefferson. You remember my mentor about design and who was the author of the Declaration of Independence, who stated our first impression of writing a law or creating architectural design or even our thoughts were never correct. And who additionally went to great lengths working collaboratively with 5 different people to even try to write a truthful word or law for harmonious purpose for life. And additionally, it took the collaboration of our founding fathers and 55 delegates who modeled the foundation of our Constitution after the Lord's words, his perfect words, by the way, in the book of Leviticus that called for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, additionally giving those 10 commandments for it. So clearly Jefferson would be utterly shocked and reject the notion or the thought of perfection in law and design of any one thing, such as a DNA law for a life in a rose or a lion or a lamb, being created by randomness or an act of chance, since even he understood in our dimension the reality of error and that deception exists and that perfection must be made purposefully with effort and thought for design, and that evolution kind of disregards these unmovable realities. With that said, either the theory of evolution has the ability to create complete perfection from primordial soup that somehow by accident and mutation by a process of total chance, forming an infinite number of uniquely perfect, truthful laws and words found in the DNA of every living cell in creation, written for harmonious purpose for existence and life without error, and subsequently created infinite beauty through this process of total uncertainty, that also, after doing so, incredibly changed its ways from randomness and mutation for creation to the aspect of need for adherence to perfection and the truthful law it created by accident in all the DNA generated for life, which is conflicting at best. But it is not surprising at all and reaffirms the following, that this error hides the reality that error even exists, or that perfection itself exists, and therefore it is in error and cannot create perfection, nor demand adherence to the truth, or aspire to perfection and truth for life. Likewise, it is unfounded to think that somehow the imperfect, unguided method for designing perfection, per the theory of evolution or mutation, additionally shares a common connection to all perfectly truthful, divine, spiritual laws that assign the exact same understanding of truth for life or deception and error for death. I mean, did evolution write the Bible too? Therefore, evolution has never fully written anything. I mean, it may serve as a function for adjustments because it illustrates an ability for randomness to design with infinite path to perfection without the element or prospect of error, which is unattainable. And second, because in reality, it is all divinely fashioned by a perfect, loving, omnipotent creator who from the beginning of creation has shown us a perfectly created world and way in the Garden of Eden for truth and life. So to avoid deception, error, and the ways of death and suffering, and additionally at this time of creation, after the fall of humanity to deception or error and toxic influence, wrote by perfectly truthful, loving, prophetic law for our harmonious purpose and life, just like the perfect DNA of truthful law for life, said that he would crush the head of deception in due time, bringing healing and perfection back to humanity and the whole world, which did occur through Jesus Christ, through the truthful word written and its fulfillment. For me, as a design professional's perspective, knowing there is a very real war between the truth and a lie, or error from the beginning, the unfounded theory of evolution by Darwin, who never even saw the perfect reality in DNA blueprints and perfect laws, that this theory clearly wars and denies and hides the existence of not only the obstacle of error in the efforts to design, but also hides the authenticity of perfection as well. In reality, faith is not based on spirituality alone, nor was it ever expected to be. Otherwise, we would believe in anything that comes to our minds, and that would be counterproductive to the loving truth, which is the Lord himself. The word of the Lord in the Holy Scriptures has always given tangible proof for us to know and believe, and why I desire to write about it, particularly to prove what truth and happiness and love is, since it is a function of the truth, and adhering to truthful words from the Lord faithfully for life, since clearly apart from the truth is only affliction and deception, by either unfortunate toxic environmental influence for total loss or in the spiritual application. And yet in either case, the truthfully written law proves it is perfect and gives life abundantly and success with adherence or effort to it.
Honestly, there's a lot to process here, but for me, the bottom line, I'm going to say it, we live in a perfect world.
Truth and law.
Yeah, a written law for life. And And I suppose this can have a positive, inspiring impact on our attitude as well. When you think of that, it's a perfect world. Yeah, well, there's a lot of disorder. There's a lot. We got elections are coming up. There's a lot of crazy things going on in our world. But it wasn't formed by accident. Not in the same way of contemplating the very real fact that there is a profound presence of perfection around us, and our need for truth in life, and definitely motivational for that effort of life, knowing that truth. And I always say this. Truth will set us free. It's the truth. It is. You can't argue with it, but also it can give you abundance in life. I want to pivot for a second. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, how do you know when it is truth? How do you know that something is true? I know maybe that's a fundamental, maybe sophomore question, but I'd love your feedback, your input.
Well, you know that something is true when it's giving an abundance. When you're not let's say feeling depressed. But here's an application of truth. From the very beginning, in the fall of a perfect world, as written in the Garden of Eden, at the hand of deception and of course disobedience, God promised to crush the head of deception. But that word was written throughout all of the Old Testament, through, again, we mentioned it, the promise of salvation. Through Moses even spoke about it. Isaiah, Jeremiah, King David. They all wrote about it. And they wrote it down so that it would be done. It would be fulfilled, so to be witnessed. We are witnesses to those words. So when you go back in time and you look at it, the truth is revealed. The truth happens. The deception is an illusion. It doesn't even exist. It has no existence. It's there to simply deceive, but it's the truth has existence. It proves itself to be by either following the command that was given for, again, life, or it, not following it and having laws. I mean, we see it all around us. But the five tangible truths, in essence, were the DNA truth. There is a law in there, and you see and you know that when it's adhering to it outside of toxic influence, there's life, and there's life abundantly. That is a truthful law for abundance in life. And you can see the effects of deception. And again, in the Ten Commandments, God wrote the Ten Commandments too. He was the author of, really, that's it. That's all he personally wrote, but it's the same exact, format to be truthful. Do not lie, and do not be a lie. Do not, do the things that don't allow for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Killing, adultery, stealing. Mm-hmm. And so
I want to jump in right there on the commandment point. Mm-hmm. How do you handle a situation or knowing that somebody has broken a number of those commandments? Obviously, they're not being truthful in many regards. Let's say they're in your life and they're connected to you. How do you, I guess the best word I can come up with here is deal with that type of situation where it goes against your grain. That's not the way it should be.
Well, Moses came, and here's an interesting thing. Moses was prophesied to come 300 years before he even showed up. And the rulers at the time that were enslaving Israel and the Israelites knew it. And they were killing children to stop Moses from coming because they knew the prophetic word was coming. But Moses came and he brought the law. He delivered the people. He set up the framework for the Constitution for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, for abundance and life. That is the Lord. He is life, he is truth, and he is existence, and he is love. And so the Israelites, through that hedge of protection, that constitution that God gave that told to profess to all the nations, literally allowed for all of the prophets to write about Christ to come. Isaiah, that is, Jeremiah, King David, they pierced my hands, my feet, they numbered my bones. They described a fashion of death that didn't even exist yet, 2,000 years before Christ was born. But Jesus was the fulfillment of that law. And it's interesting because our founding fathers used the book of Leviticus. They used that very perfectly truthful word written for harmonious purpose for existence and life with, again, for our Constitution in the beginning. And it came with the Ten Commandments. And both Moses said there is no freedom apart from the law, and we have George Washington saying the propitious smiles of heaven will not be on a nation who ignore the rules of right. And it comes with some pretty heavy words after that I don't want to get into. It's kind of scary. But you have to adhere to truth for life. Apart from that, there's nothing but affliction and loss. And that life isn't just for this life here. It's for eternal life. Now, Jesus was the fulfillment of that prophetic law. He was the fulfillment of the law of Moses. And if you look at what he gave to us, it's to be forgiving. You ask the question, how do you deal with people? You have to forgive them. You have to be humble. You have to, honestly, look at the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the ones that hunger and thirst for righteousness. Well, they're hungering and they're thirst for the law of Moses, but they're recognizing the need to be, the first Beatitude is the most beautiful one, I think, because it says, blessed are the poor in spirit. I don't even think people know what that is. I had to look it up for crying out loud. It's meaning that, I didn't get that right. I wasn't exact in my approach. I need to try harder. And that's the same thing as kind of like, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. But, there's when people are really bad, you have to give them their space. There's no question about it. And your family members, if they're really bad, but you always need to be an example to them for how to be. That's what we're called to do, no matter how bad they are. Because we're supposed to be living examples by Christ's examples. Jesus died on the cross. I think he pretty much showed us that, in a way, what we're supposed to do in lengths to show people, look for a truthfully written word for harmonious purpose for existence in life. Just like the DNA, just like the Ten Commandments, just like the Constitution, just like the prophetic word, just like the promise of salvation. And these are essentially those 5 perfectly truthful words written for harmonious purpose for existence in life. And the 4 Gospels in the New Testament is the fulfillment of those prophetic words, that salvation shall come. And it describes it perfectly.
Well, I appreciate the reminder for forgiveness, how challenging it can be. It doesn't mean we condone what somebody may have done, but it's the answer, and it moves your life along. And also, we've talked about this before, but I'm sure many people don't realize, the Constitution and where some of the principles, life, liberty, happiness, all of that came from the adherence to the truth. And that started, as we define here, many, 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 many years before. What's the best way if somebody wants to check out your book, For the Love of the Father?
That would be on theloveofthefather.com. And again, you could probably read everything you need to see exactly what we're talking about right there when you read about the author or when you read about the book, or if you go to KDP and you see a couple of excerpts of the book. It's only $7. There are people, I did write this a long time ago, but I modified it. I added new information to it, the second version. There are people selling used copies. That's not me. I gave 20,000 copies to a soup kitchen in Traverse City years ago.
Wow.
And they're selling, that was out of my pocket, but they're selling those books online at Amazon for all kinds of prices. That is not me. If you want to read it for free and you got a KDP, you can read it for free. At the end of the day, if it inspires somebody to go, wow, this is exciting. I do have eternal life. I am living in a perfect world, and by the cellular level, every cell is adhering and being called to adhere to the truth. The only spot where deception can enter by choice is in our heads outside of toxic influence. Because everything in life, every bark, branch, tree, leaf, grass, bug, you name it. And so if this does inspire, give to St. Jude's. I haven't put the link there yet. Do something. I don't need to touch anything. If it inspires someone to say, you know what, this is exciting, no matter your condition, no matter your age, And to feel like, wow, there is tangible truth here. I can put my feet on, and I can feel good about, and I don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to just go this new direction of trust in the Lord, and everything will be okay. And grow in your spiritual walk. If that inspires you, do something for St. Jude's, because cancer is a deceptive word that just rips us apart. It is literally it's the perfect example of what deception does. It doesn't adhere to the truth for life, and that's the same thing with the Ten Commandments. When we see somebody doing something, stealing or lying about somebody or slandering them, or God forbid, whatever the horrible thing is, it breaks our hearts. And the same thing with our Constitution. We have a beautiful Constitution, but when we war against it, it doesn't provide life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to be fruitful and to multiply as a nation. And it's counterproductive. And again, but the most important one we should all rest on is that prophetic word that was written for our harmonious purpose, that was calling for salvation from the beginning, that we are witnesses to. It happened. It's before us, and it went from sea to sea and at the ends of all rivers. And that's the one that points to the Gospels, because the Gospels literally are a fulfillment of what the Israelites were saying, the prophets were saying. And so that's the one where you can, the love of the Father, when you read that passage, it says, love not the world or anything in it, and, but he who does the will of God lives forever. There's your perfect adherence. Do the will of God. Forgive, love, follow the commandments, and don't be a lie. Don't be a lie. We have to be of truth, and we have to enter through the narrow door. And, that's essentially the message. So if you want to do something good, I would say you don't even need to buy the book. You just look and read what it says. If it inspires you, do something good for the Children's Hospital of St. Jude's. That
awesome.
Would be
Jeff, thank you so much today. Lots to think about, and even at the very least, walk outside and look at the truth, and look at the beauty that's right there.
Or your hands.
My gosh. And we spend so much time, rushing around in life. It's all there, and it's beautiful if you look at it that way. And that is the truth. Thanks for being here today.
You bet. Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
to everyone. Take care.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education
And to finish what I started to get my diploma.
just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.